How's everybody doing? This is your boy, Mr. E, boss of the Southside Bosses. You already know this is Revolutionary Hour, the podcast where we bring y'all that knowledge, man, where we break stuff down for you, man. So today we're going to be touching on history because there's a lot of stuff going on, that we're finding out about that's coming on. One of the major things is how they changed from Columbus Day to Indigenous Day. But do you understand why they actually did that? Do you really understand how Christopher Columbus did not discover the United States or America, the Americas? He didn't discover them at all. Not even to mention that he didn't even step foot on the North American continent. He actually ran into the adjoining isles of the American continent. So I just wanted to touch y'all on that, you know what I'm saying? And yes, I love to be friends. Y'all hit this, send me that friend request, you know what I'm saying? Hit that follow, like, and subscribe button. And like I said, this is Revolutionary Hour, so you'll be able to find this on our YouTube page. All you have to do is type in Revolutionary Hour on YouTube, and it's going to bring y'all to BOSS Radio. Please hit that like, follow, and subscribe button. And if you already been following, if you already been tuning in and you ain't hit that follow button, you're slacking on your macking and you're slipping on your pimping. So we're going to have to rectify that ASAP. You heard me? So again, hit that like, follow, and subscribe button, and make sure that all your family and friends know about us as well, because I'm telling y'all, it's about to go down, man. We about to actually give y'all some information that I believe y'all going to be able to take all the way to the bank with you. You feel me? So I just don't understand, you know what I'm saying, with the history of racism and things of that nature, how we still in this situation. Well, history is being uncovered because we are now in the Aquarian age. And if y'all don't know what the Aquarian age is, the Aquarian age is what happens every 2,000 years, we come across another age on a zodiac calendar. And whether you believe in the zodiac or not, this is stuff that has been going on since well before we even got here. So this is just something that you definitely want to tune into and find out about. But the Aquarian age is the age of knowing. We just left the Piscean age. The Piscean age is the age of believing. That means we spent all this time, we spent 2,000 years believing what was told to us and not actually doing our own research and finding out exactly what's going on. You feel me? So with that being said, we're going to have to get into the research and start knowing now and stop believing. So I'm just going to say this right here. Don't believe nothing I'm telling you. I'm giving you keys to look up. Trust me, I ain't the one to sit here and tell you don't research and don't fact check me. Please fact check me. And if it turns out that I'm wrong, hit me up. We can have a discussion about it. That way we can figure out what's real and what's not. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been lied to. We've been lied to about a lot of things. And when it comes to the race game, we've been lied to majorly. So my job here at Revolutionary Hour is to rectify that whole race paradigm, because there's only one race, the human race. And until we understand that, we're going to continue going through the things that we've been going through. And it's not natural. Race was never natural. And I know y'all looking at my skin, oh, wait, look, you's natural. You was naturally black. No, I'm not. And we're going to discover that. We're going to discuss that very, very shortly. But before we do, I do want to let y'all know that this show and all of our podcasts are always sponsored by Southside Beauty Care. And with Southside Beauty Care, you'll find they have the best whipped butters ever, man. Ever. They got all types of scents. So if you're just trying to feel good and you're also trying to smell good, you definitely want to hit Southside Beauty Care up, SouthsideBeautyCare.com, and get y'all whipped body butters and make sure your skin is feeling immaculate. Because if you didn't know, your skin is the largest organ on your body, and it is the first thing that you're going to notice when something is wrong with your body. If something is wrong with your body, that skin is going to tell you. So you definitely need to make sure your skin is nice and healthy in order to be able to get those signs ahead of time. So you already know what's wrong with you, or you know something's wrong with you, and that you may need to go seek out some doctor's help, get some doctor's advice to find out how to get back right. Not only do they have wonderful whipped butters of different scents. We have like cocoa butter. They also got eucalyptus and rosemary. And they also got rose, frankincense, and myrrh, so on and so forth, man. So just go to the website, check out all their scents. But if you try to get your hair something like mine, then that whipped chibi, this is where it's at. This is a whipped hair butter that I put on my hair all the time. And as you can see, I'm strong. It ain't going nowhere, baby. It's luscious, it's soft, it's moisturized. I ain't itching everywhere because it definitely has hydration to your skin. But the chibi is a powerful powerful powder that's going to feed your hair and make sure that it is grow strong and thick like these luscious locks I got. You feel me? So again, go ahead and check them out. That's Southside Beauty Care at southsidebeautycare.com. I guarantee you are going to be feeling amazing after you try their products out. Like they say, your glow starts here. You heard me? All right, so let's go ahead and get on with it. So let's talk a little bit. We know that Christopher Columbus did not discover America. We've already discussed that. There was already people here when he got here. So there's no way that you could discover something that there's already people at. Somebody had to discover it beforehand. And this is what happens whenever you come and you steal shit. You say, oh no, this was mine. I found it first. And I'm like, I'm literally using it right now. I'm literally using it right now. And you talking about something, you found this. I don't even know who you are. We ain't even seen nobody that looked like you ever. But leave it to European history. European has rewrote history so that we believe that we are actually living on land that was discovered by Europeans. Far from the truth. Now that we know this, let's dive a little bit deeper into it, because how did he get here? If we know he didn't discover it because it was already people here, how did he get here? Because everybody who knows anything about being on a ship know that there's only one way it can get around. It can only get around one way, and that has to be navigated all around wherever it's going. And most of the time, the ship captain, even though he may know how to navigate, will not be doing the navigation because he has so much other things they got to take care of. I know, I've been on a few cruise ships, you feel me? They have people that actually take care of the navigation, and they call them a navigator. So who was Christopher Columbus' navigator, since he ended up so far off track? I mean, far off track. Who told him to turn a right when he was supposed to turn a left? You feel me? Somebody told Christopher Columbus to make that right instead of making that left. Not only to make that right, but also to make, because remember, he was going to the Indies. Remember, this is the story they told you. He was going to the Indies in order to get seasonings and spices and things of that nature, right? So we know if they're going around Africa, he would have had to continue to go down or make a little left somewhere. He wouldn't have made a right. To the right, at this time, they say that they believe the earth was flat. So if you went too far to the right, then you would have fell off the edge of the planet. That's just what they stated in their history books. They thought the earth was flat, so if they went too far off, they were going to fall off the edge of the planet. So they did not dare travel that far. But where did they even get that from? Minimum minds. People with the minimalistic minds cannot think past it, and they don't understand that there's no such thing as boundaries in this life. Where they say the sky's the limit, the sky is not the limit. The stars, you touch the stars. That's what it's past the sky, right? There is no limitation. So wherever they got that from, obviously somebody was trying to keep them from coming over here. But yet somebody told him to make that right instead of that left. Don't go to the Indies to the left. No, make this right. Well, we look into that and we find out that there was a navigator on the same boat as Christopher Columbus, and his name was Pedro Alonso Nino. Upon more research, you find out, you look at these paintings of what's supposed to be Christopher Columbus getting off the ship here in the Indies, the West Indies, and you can tell that there's a melanated person, heavily melanated person in that background. You feel me? It's like they're on the boat. And at first you think, oh, that was a slave because they black, they a slave. But if you look at them, even in the paintings, they have a turban on, they have royal garments on, they have jewelry on. There's no way that this could be a slave, because slaves wasn't even allowed to practice their own religion and their own customs, let alone wear headdress, wear royal garments that denotes their culture. And the jewelry alone, I mean, it looked like he was more decked out than Christopher Columbus. Pedro obviously had to be somebody of importance. So I had to look into it. Well, it turns out he wasn't a slave. He was the navigator. He was the person that brought Christopher Columbus to the Americas. If it wouldn't have been for him saying make that right, but to make that left, apparently the Europeans would have never made it to the Americas. This is history. This is history. He was born in 1455, and he died in 1505, but he was on that boat in 1492, September 1492, crossing the blue with Christopher Columbus. Now, that right there tells you a lot, that obviously this black person who they considered was a Moor, that's what they called him. They called him a Moor. He was a Spanish navigator and explorer of African descent, often referred to as a Moor because of his North African ancestry. He was born, I said 58. It was actually 68. He was born in Spain, and he was a part of a family of mariners and had extensive experience in navigation and sailing. Extensive. That means that if he was able to if he was able to voyage all over the Atlantic, then maybe in some kind of way he actually slipped up on the Americas. Or maybe everybody was already going to the Americas and coming back. My theory. Let's keep looking. So the role with Columbus, with Nino, was he served as a pilot on Columbus's first voyage to the New World in 1492. His expertise in navigation and experience in Atlantic voyages were very valuable assets to the expedition. They already knew about Pedro. They knew that he was a great navigator, and for obvious reasons, they picked him because he knew how to navigate the Atlantic Ocean, right? So I want to bring something to your attention. I should have brought this back up. But if anybody knows anything about the Atlantic Ocean, you know that what happened in Pangaea, it ain't never stopped. Is getting wider. We know that the Atlantic Ocean is expanding. Excuse me. I just want to make sure I have my words right when I say what I'm about to say. I'm looking this up, and this is off of the scienceabc.com. The Atlantic Ocean is expanding due to the formation of new oceanic crust at the mid-Atlantic ridge, while the Pacific Ocean is contracting due to the subduction of the Pacific plate beneath the surrounding plates. What does that mean? That means that the Atlantic Ocean is getting bigger. What does that mean about Pedro? Check this out. If the Atlantic Ocean is not that big right now, it's the second largest ocean in the world, but compared to the Pacific, I think it's less than half of the Pacific. If it's not really that big, it happens to be the second largest body of water on the planet. But back then, over 500 years ago, if it's expanding now, that means it was expanding then, meaning that they had to be actually closer. The lands were closer. That means you probably, with a great telescope, could see the American continent from Spain, from UK, what they now call the UK and England. You probably would have been able to see that with the proper telescope. And don't say they didn't have them, because we know they have been dealing with telescopes and monoscopes since thousands of years ago. So to me, that says that they already knew about the land because they just saw it. It's slowly drifting away. That means that it was slowly drifting away then. That means it was closer at that time. But I digress. Let's get back on with Pedro. Pedro knew, I think Pedro knew about these things. But again, that's speculation. So bear with me while we go ahead and try to tie all this together. Now, the contribution that Nino's skills actually provided to the boat was as a navigator. And he helped in the successful crossing of the Atlantic. Now, was they supposed to cross the Atlantic? No. Because again, they was going to India. India is to the east. So that means that the only way to travel down to India from Spain and Italy was to go down the coastline, ride the coastline of Africa, curve around the coastline of Africa, shoot off around Arabia, and then you at India. But is that what happened? No. He crossed the Atlantic Ocean, but his skills in crossing the Atlantic, do you hear what the words that they actually tell you? His skills in crossing the Atlantic, that means he had already done it plenty of times if he was considered the expert at this time. He's already crossed the Atlantic. And when you cross the Atlantic, you're going to hit land. I don't care what anybody say. You're going to hit land. And when you hit land, you're going to see the land of America, the American continents, and you're going to see the people there. And guess what? According to the diaries of Christopher Columbus, These people that he ran into in the West Indies look like Negroes or Moors. Look it up. I'm giving you keys. Check this stuff out. I'm giving you some keys that if you can't rock with it, then I don't know how to help you. But these are keys that they throwing at you to let you know that the people who was here looked like Moors, looked like the people of North African descent, who they actually had to make a difference from the West Africans, the East Africans, and the Southern Africans. They had to make a difference of that because the skin complexions was the same. They had to make a difference of that according to culture. That's how they was able to differ who was a Moor and who was a Negro, who is African. And the reason why I say even though the Moors are Africans, this is how we know that. Look up William Dungy's case where Abraham Lincoln had to represent William Dungy in the court of law in the United States because he was accused of being a Negro. And he had to go and defend himself as a Moor. And he won. Abraham Lincoln won. He defended himself. He defended his client successfully and made sure that he was maintained a Spanish Moor and not a Negro. Wow, wait, if it's about my skin, then wouldn't he just be a Negro if he looked like us? No, he wouldn't. I was like, wow. Go check it out. William Dungy, Abraham Lincoln. Go check it out as well. You'll see all the transcripts and everything. They break it down how he was accused by his wife's brother, accused him of being a Negro. And he had to go to court and fight about that. They didn't just say, oh, wait, look at him, he's a Negro. No, they didn't. They gave him a chance to defend himself. And Abraham Lincoln, before he became president of the United States, defended him and made sure that everybody understood he was a Spanish Moor and not a Negro. Now, back to Nino. Now, Nino had subsequent voyages. After the first voyage, he continued to be involved in other explorations of the New World. He commanded his own ship on subsequent expeditions, further contributing to the Spanish exploration and colonization efforts. So pretty much he continued to bring Spaniards and other Europeans to the American continent. Again, his expertise allowed him to bring the Europeans here. Why? We'll discuss that another time. Let's keep going with Nino, because what was the actual significance in the involvement of the exploration? Well, the representation of the diversity, with Nino's presence on Columbus's voyages, it highlights the diverse backgrounds of the crew members who participated in these early expeditions. His African heritage and experience as a mariner demonstrate the multicultural nature of exploration during this period. Yes, everybody was going around and exploring. Everybody, even Africans. Don't let them make you think that they was just pure savages and they didn't know how to explore anything. No, they definitely did. Matter of fact, there's actually some historical evidence that say that they did before Christopher Columbus. Let's look at that. Oh, now, the idea that Pedro Alonso Nino actually knew about the Americas before Columbus, that's an intriguing one at best. But it's not widely supported by historical evidence, they say. Now, see, however, it is worth exploring the context. So let's look into it a little bit more. Now, we already discussed the background and expertise of Pedro Alonso Nino. He was a highly experienced navigator and sailor. He had extensive knowledge of the Atlantic Ocean, having participated in various trading and exploration missions along the African coast and possibly further afield. Again, African coast, right? But then they say he had extensive experience going across the Atlantic before the Columbus voyage. Now, he was African maritime. He had African maritime knowledge. There are historical accounts and theories that suggest that African sailors, including those from West Africa, had ventured across the Atlantic before European explorers. Now, this theory is bolstered by certain cultural and botanical similarities observed between West Africans and Americans. Now, what's botanical? We know those got to do with flowers and plants. Now, if you don't know anything about plants, then let me. There's this word called indigenous, and that means it belongs to a certain area. And there's a lot of plants that do not belong in America that are from West Africa. And there are certain plants that do not belong in West Africa over here in America. But they're here. They're here. They have been discussed. And there's many of them. I'm giving you key points to go research. Go look it up. We're going to discuss a little bit of them right now. But the claims of pre-Columbian knowledge have speculative theories. And one of them is some historians and scholars have speculated that Nino, given his expertise and background, might have had prior knowledge and suspicions of lands to the west of Europe and Africa. Why else would he say turn right instead of turn left? You feel me? Why else would he say turn right instead of turn left? He would have said continue left, follow the land, don't be stupid. No, he was brave because he already knew about it. He already had to have known about it. And these theories are based off of anecdotal evidence, they say, and the broader context of pre-Columbian transoceanic contact theories. Like they're trying to make it seem like it's possible, but it ain't. But it is very possible because oral traditions and legends have actually set the standard of the land over here to the west before there was actually a European conquest. Now, in some oral traditions and legends, particularly within African and Afro-Caribbean communities, there are stories of early voyages to the Americas by African sailors. Now, these stories, while not substantiated, of course, by concrete historical evidence, even though they can be, they just don't want to apply this evidence to this because they're trying to keep it to where you don't know. But could they contribute to the narrative that explorers like Nino might have had some prior awareness of the New World? I mean, wouldn't it just seems very logical that since he crossed the Atlantic a few times, that maybe he saw land that he knew wasn't Europe and that he didn't get turned around. Just saying. It's very plausible. But with historical evidence and mainstream views, there seems to be a lack of direct evidence, they say. Mainstream historical research does not provide concrete evidence that Pedro Alonso Nino or other African or European sailors knew about the Americas before Columbus's 1492 voyage. But it's funny how we keep forgetting about Amerigo. Was it he an explorer, Amerigo Vespucci? When did he get over here? Let me see. Amerigo Vespucci's ship. Now. Let's find out. All right. They say it was in May of 1499, between 1497 and 1504. And that's when he decided to come over here. So a mere, 5 to 7 years after Columbus. Okay, so before then, it just so happens now that everybody can get over here. But before then, there was no way anybody could have known that there was any aspect of something going on over here. We just don't get that, do we? So with Christopher Columbus's role is widely credited with the European discovery of the Americas because his voyages led to sustained contact between Europe and the New World. And I don't think the Native Americans actually appreciate that. No, I'm just saying. I really don't think that's that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. I don't think they actually wanted that. But let's look into this a little bit deeper because I know that they keep saying that there's no way that could have happened, but we can prove it. They just want to push the evidence into pseudoscience and say it's anecdotal so that you won't give it any credence. Because think about it. If they say it's anecdotal, why don't they just go ahead and just say, hey, this is how we could prove this is wrong. We could prove this is wrong. This is how we could prove this is wrong. They could have easily did that. But instead, they just don't substantiate it. That's it. Oh, we don't know about that. The evidence that we say, that we found, that we say is accurate, it doesn't actually support that theory, but it's anecdotal at best. Why don't you just say it's a lie? Because you know you can't, because at the same time, you know you can't, if you do, and then it turns out that this was true, you are no longer the expert in your field. But you're still trying to keep us up under. So let's look into it a little bit more. So when you got somebody like Pedro Alonso Nino, who has very high experience in navigation and has sailed extensively along the African coast and possibly beyond, according to documents from why they chose him. His expertise suggests that he could have been involved in transoceanic voyages before Columbus. There are theories that West African sailors had the capability to navigate the Atlantic and might have reached the Americas before Europeans. As a navigator of African descent, Nino could have had access to this knowledge, of course. Now, pre-Columbian transoceanic theories are pretty much stating that there were people who traveled over here before Columbus. And the historical accounts that some historians and scholars argue that there were contacts between the old world and the new world before there was Columbus is with one of them being the legend of ALBUQUERQUE II. He was a Malian emperor, and they suggest that this West African across the Atlantic in the 14th century, well before Columbus. Now, I just want to bring something to you. Let me bring this to your attention. Christopher Columbus discovered America in around September, October, November of 1492, correct? November 1492, correct. If you do a little bit of research of what happened with Spain and Italy at that time in 1492, you'll find out that they had just got or were still in a war that they was winning against the Moors, against Pedro Alonso Nino's people. They expelled them from the Moors. They expelled the Moors from Europe, from Iberia, from the Iberian Peninsula. As soon as they did that, a Moor navigated them to the lands in the West. And then they continued to conquer. So it doesn't seem like this was one war. I mean, this was multiple wars. It seems like it was one war. Just one. That's it. And it was against the same people. Because they continued the same tactics that they used on the Moors with the indigenous Americans. Same tactics. Same war. They didn't get off that ship and be like, oh, we pilgrims and you Indians, let's have Thanksgiving. No. There was a reason why Thanksgiving existed. And it was because the Europeans came over fucking killing and slaughtering everything until they had the East Coast under control. Then as soon as they had the East Coast under control, they baited the Native Americans in with Thanksgiving and then continued to slaughter them after that. Thanks. Anyways. Now, remember we were talking about those botanical evidences? Let's go ahead and jump in on that. Now, there are certain crops that can be found in Egypt. And not only in Egypt, but in ancient Egyptian mummies that suggest pre-Columbian transoceanic contact. What is that? It is the coca leaf and tobacco. The coca leaf, are you talking about cocoa as in chocolate? No. No. I'm talking about cocoa as in cocaine. Yes. Egyptian pharaohs used to get high on cocaine. And where you gonna get cocaine from? It was that good Peruvian shit too. And everybody know Peru is on the other side of South America. It's on the western side, the far west side of South America. So that means not only did they have to travel and land on the lands, they had to travel on the lands or around the Gulf of Mexico into the Panama, in the area that the Panama Canal now exists. They had to travel all over that place in order to get to Peru. You feel me? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? The Egyptian pharaohs over there in the Empire of Egypt, by the middle motherfucking east, in the up north of Africa, northeast of Africa, had cocaine all throughout their system. Tobacco too. Tobacco that's grown over here with the exact DNA structure, the exact cellular structure of tobacco plants over here in the Americas. How in the hell did that make that happen? Well, if you look in history, you'll find out that cigarettes or tobacco used to be a rich man's drug. Cocaine, up until what, the 80s, was a rich man's drug. This is why it was found in the pharaohs, because they was only the rich people could afford to be mummified. Regular people were buried in tombs. Only the rich was mummified, specifically the pharaoh. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Now, I just want to let y'all know once again that this show, before we continue, because we almost done, but this show is actually brought to you by Southside Beauty Care. Pick up your whipped body butters today. It's going to have your skin shiny just like me. It retains the moisture and it keeps you looking young. I bet you don't even know how old I am, huh? And if you want hair that's strong, then you need to go ahead, because I'm going to show y'all how strong my hair is. This has been going on for years. Y'all see that? y'all see that? That one little string right there? My hair has been holding on to that one little string right there. That one little string right there. Years. All thanks to my whipped chibi hair butter. Y'all need to get y'all some. Stop playing with it. Hit SouthsideBeautyCare.com up. Get you some of this whipped chibi hair butter. I swear to you, strong. It ain't going nowhere. It ain't going nowhere. Y'all see it? Y'all see that little string? It ain't going nowhere, y'all. Hanging on by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Anyways, let's get back to it. So, now that we know that it is actually plants that were found in areas of the world that usually it would not have been found in, then we know that there had to be some kind of exploration, some kind of transportation in order to get it over there into that area, right? Well, needless to say, that's a very big, that's not anecdotal at all. That's not anecdotal evidence. That's evidence. There's only one way, and you ain't going to sit here and tell me that, oh, the pharaohs allowed it to be grown in their own palaces, but they wasn't allowed to grow out there in the rest of the Egyptian empire. Make it make sense then. How do they even know about it? Oh, yeah, I'm waiting. How do they even know about it? You know what? Hit me up in the comment section if you actually think you understand. But back to that. The other anecdotal and so-called anecdotal and circumstantial evidence that proves or actually gives you some kind of idea that there is that there was an African presence in the Americas before there was a Columbus. Now, the oral traditions and legends within the African and the Afro-Caribbean communities, there are oral traditions and legends of early voyages to the Americas by African sailors. These stories, though not rigorously documented, add a layer of plausibility to the idea that Nino might have had prior knowledge. Maps and charts. Some claim that there are certain maps from the pre-Columbian area, like the Piri Rice map, which shows parts of the Americas, suggesting that knowledge of these lands existed before Columbus. Now, this is Piri Rice. This is Pirireis. Go look at that map. You will see what I mean. And that what they're saying is that while these maps are controversial and not definitive, they fuel the argument for pre-Columbian awareness of the New World. The only thing you need to prove to me is that this was pre-Columbian. Was the map pre-Columbian or not? Because from what it looked like, from the dating of it and everything, they say that it is pre-Columbian. So if it is pre-Columbian and with what you see on that map, obviously, you feel me? Obviously, there are some kind of aspect that says that there were African sailors that made it to the Americas. They even show Brazil. It shows Antarctica. Antarctica. Why? Because they were closer at the time. The Pacific Ocean was a huge amount of water because it used to be the Pangaean Sea. It used to be the Pangaean Sea. So this is where you get the Pacific Ocean, because the Pangaean Sea broke off into 7 different bodies of water. 7 huge bodies of water, may I add. But this is how Africans already knew about this area, these areas. They knew about that. And it was an accurate drawing. If you look at it, you can actually see the coastline of Brazil that actually matches the coastline of Brazil. Now, they said that this map was compiled by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Rice in 1513. But it really, if you go look at his journal, he'll tell you that he followed ancient maps to map out this map. He followed them, and this is how he knew about Antarctica. This is how he knew about South America. Just called something else at the time. You feel me? Now, the political and economic motives around this is very, very simple. Racism. When Carlos Linnaeus started or came up with the theory of race, human, the different races in the human genome, that's what it threw it on. Okay, so these motherfuckers dark. They obviously got to be stupid because I'm white. I mean, I'm light and I'm smart. This was the whole idea behind racism. It was to keep the people who brought the people out of the dark ages down. The Moors came into the European continent with the mission of uplifting fallen humanity. After the Romans burnt all these books and stuff so that they could push the Roman Catholic Church onto people. They have no thoughts in the world. They couldn't think for themselves. Hell, barely could bathe. No? And the reason why I know this is because I sell a lot of Samina. A lot of Samina is African black soap. It is one of the world's oldest soaps. So check that out on Southside Beauty Care as well. I've done my research. Southside Beauty Care with African black soap. Go check that out because I'm telling you, it's part of my skincare regime. And yeah, I feel good, don't I? I look good, don't I? I ain't got no wrinkles everywhere. Smooth like butter. And this ain't no filter. This is me. I'm broadcasting on 5 different servers. I'm on Facebook with Mr. E and Southside Bosses. I'm on YouTube with Boss Radio. I'm on TikTok with Boss Radio. I'm on Big O with Revolutionary Hour. Ain't no filters. Just straight getting it, baby. I don't need filters when I look like this. But back to the story at hand. So there are plenty of political and economic motives for this. And as a skilled navigator, Nino might have been a part of or aware of secretive trade networks that sought new routes and lands. Of course, that makes a lot of sense why they went right and not left. Now, his prior knowledge would have been valuable for the success of the Columbian expedition. And his strategic his strategy was very immense when it came to actually navigating and getting them here. It's possible that Nino or others with knowledge of the Americas kept this information confidential. That way they can be able to maintain strategic and economic advantages when revealing that it's only when it served their interests. Like, hey, Christopher, I can take you over here. You know I'm a good navigator. I can take you over here. I'm going to take you somewhere you ain't never been before because you ain't been there before. You think you're going to fall off the edge of the map, but guess what? I'm going to get you. I'm going to show you. And this very knowledge right here is very valuable to people who are trying to make a difference in the trade routes. And that's exactly what Spain and Italy with King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, all of that's what they was trying to do. They was trying to re-establish or take control of the trade routes that the Moors had already established with the other lands that they could get to. And the Europeans, again, thinking that the earth is flat, they're going to fall off the edge of the road. They needed a Moor to get them to the Americas. Whether you think that they knew about it or not, they needed a Moor to get them here to the Americas, period. Whether they knew about it or not, you wasn't going to get here without a Moor. The detailed knowledge of these routes is very, very intriguing when you understand that since Nino was a experienced navigator, man, he had nothing but knowledge that was very, very valuable extrinsically and intrinsically when it came to be able to conquer the world. And as we see, soon as the Europeans conquered these trade routes, then they set up the establishment here in the United States that signed the Treaty of Peace and Friendship with the Moroccan Empire, who controlled these same trade routes. And they made it to where they was able to take over them politically after the war. So, yeah, there is very, very wide knowledge, very extensive knowledge on where these Europeans got the knowledge of the Americas from. And it wasn't because they just so happened to look up on it, discovery or not. They knew it was here, and it took a more to get them here. And with that more getting them here, well, the rest is history, as they say. Or is it? No, because if you knew the rest, if you thought the rest was history, then you wouldn't know about Pedro Alonso Nino or the more that got Christopher Columbus to the North American continent, or the black man, the black African that discovered America. Christopher Columbus ain't have shit to do with it. He was an explorer. I mean, excuse me, he was an exploiter, not an explorer. He was an exploiter. So that's all I'm saying. Once you do your research, and like I said, I gave you a whole bunch of tidbits. I gave you a whole bunch of tidbits, some things that you can actually look at and go search up to yourself. Man, they ain't need to do with telling the truth. I ain't gonna lie to you, but I gotta lie to you for. You believing a more navigated here does what for me? Does nothing for me, but what it does for you is it opens your eyes. And it keeps you from being lied to the next time somebody try to tell you something that you kind of figure is wrong. You're going to be like, let me do my research because y'all done lied to me enough. They lied to you about your health. You don't think they're going to lie to you about history? Come on now. That's all I'm saying. Alrighty, baby, y'all love. I just want to say thank you all for tuning in, turning up and zoning out. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot that goes along with this. So I hope y'all hit that like, follow, and subscribe button. Please hit that share button to your family and friends and let them know that Revolutionary Hour is going to have all types of wonderful knowledge for y'all that y'all can apply to your real life. Feel me? Go out there and tell them liars to stop lying. You heard me? This is your boy, Mr. E, boss of the Southside Bosses, and we out, baby. Well, I got 2 likes. Oh, I got 4 new fans. And I bang, baby, if you ain't already looked us up on Big O, it's a new app. I just found it. I've been going live on it like crazy. My brother Malcolm put me up on it. Hey, peace up to my brother Malcolm, man. Appreciate for showing me this one. Y'all go find us over there. You already know what it is. Your boy, Mr. E, boss of the Southside Bosses, and we out, baby. Hit Southside Beauty Care up for your all natural, all organic whipped body butters of all scents, and also get you that whipped chibi hair butter, baby. It's going down. You see what it's like.